Hello and welcome to 3 Minutes to Change, episode 4, a confused return to Christian spirituality. Following decades-long illnesses, invasive and non-invasive laboratory investigations, and ineffectual medications, at a clinical consultation in mid-December 2004, the diagnostic rather than therapeutic surgery, exploratory laparotomy, had been recommended, which in utter frustration and desperation I had accepted without much thought. However, upon getting home that day, I began to think to myself that there must be another way. In the course of the agonizing ruminations, the fact that in my teens I had been deeply spiritual, hardly missed Sunday church services, read my Bible every night before saying my prayers and going to bed, kept crossing my mind. In those days, although I continued to suffer bouts of asthma, I had none of the illnesses now tormenting me in my 20s and early 30s. Rather, I excelled at my studies, becoming the best student in my high school and securing the admission to study medicine and surgery under the age of 17. Altogether, my Christian faith back then had impacted me positively. However, my faith then was based primarily on being raised in a Christian family rather than real personal conviction. And so, in the early days of my undergraduate medical studies, curious and exposed to lots of books outside my medical studies, historical, political, philosophical, and science books, the weak foundation of my spirituality gradually gave way to die-hard cynicism and skepticism. I began to scoff at the possibility of a personal relationship with God, dismissing biblical accounts of God's interest and intervention in the affairs of the individual human being as ancient fairy tales. I took a dim view of the effectiveness of prayer in the life of man. This was based on the fact that the prayer of everyone I knew seemed to never be answered. I thought that I had never really met anyone whose problems were resolved through prayer. Therefore, in those days, prayer became to me synonymous with superstition, the rolling of an empty prayer wheel, a waste of time. But towards the end of the month of December 2004, I began to persistently ask myself what I had to lose by re-embracing my early Christian spirituality, the spirituality of my teens. The answer that kept coming to my mind was nothing to lose. And so, on the night of Friday, December 17, 2004, I knelt by my bedside and for the first time in over a decade began to pray. I asked God to bless me and all the people that came to my mind, my family, my parents, my siblings, members of my extended family. I prayed for my country, Nigeria, and recited some of the prayers I had learned in secondary school and in church. As I knelt praying for so many things all at once, general safety, finances, relationships, the political, social situation in the country, there was such quietness and silence that I was lulled to sleep. When I woke later in the night, I crawled into bed. By morning, nothing had changed. The decades-long symptoms were still there. But being a resolute man, the following night, I again knelt by my bed and prayed in the same manner, asking for everything, for everyone that came to my mind. Night after night, I carried on with my prayer despite the silence and lack of improvement. I'll continue with the testimony in the next episode 5. God bless you. Amen. I am Dr. Charles.